when the first gameplay trailer dropped for Sonic Frontiers, I was as skeptical as a lot of other people. I was worried about the open world design, I was worried about how stiff some of the combat animations looked, I was very much worried that this was going to become another Sonic Boom or another 06, and I was worried. And I'm so glad to tell you all that I was wrong. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Sonic's 3D history has been mixed or has been decisively bad. You hear enough of that from other people. I'm going to just go ahead and tell you that I loved Sonic Adventure 1 when I first played it. I played the DX version. I loved Sonic Adventure 2 when I first played it. It formed a major part of who I am as a person. It was one of the earliest games I actually remember playing after the N64. And I even, as a uninformed teenager, loved Sonic 06. Yeah, I thought it was just really, really hard. I didn't think that it was glitchy and broken. I just thought I was doing something wrong. But to say that Sonic Frontiers has delivered on every expectation I had of it in the best possible way would be an understatement. The world design is fantastic. It's this giant open playground for you to run around. Sonic doesn't start out too terribly fast at the beginning. You know, we are using the boost system again, but in a very different way. I'll talk more about that later. But it's so nice to be able to just run around an open field and being able to go wherever I want. Just look in the distance and say, that, I want to go there, and then I'm going to go there. And then I did. And being able to look at something in the distance and say, I can't seem to reach that. Let's see if I can't find a high point to get to that. And I usually found that point in a matter of minutes. So as far as the general gameplay loop goes, I think it's got a very good approach. You start off by exploring the world, clearing the map, finding strong enemies, and defeating them to take their portal gears. By collecting these portal gears, you're able to then open up the cyberspace stages. And the cyberspace stages are great. They strike this beautiful balance between the older boost formula and the modern style. And even then, this boost formula is so much better than anything we had. After Forces, I was beginning to feel like the boost formula had kind of seen the end of its days. And I am so happy to say that that's not true. Because they make one major change here, and that's that your boost doesn't kill enemies anymore. Now you have to actually homing attack and strike through your enemies and pay attention to where you're going. And on top of that, the boost also doesn't make you go as fast, so it allows a better focus on the platforming and puzzle solving rather than just holding down the boost button to win. Which, it's also not tied to a meter anymore, not in the same sense anyway. You have what's effectively a stamina meter in the form of your boost meter. And it is so much better than just having a line that fills up as you collect rings, because it means you always have access to this boost. You just have to use it sparingly because you don't want to run out, but then it'll refill. It means that you can boost almost the entire time and get that sense of speed while still not losing control of where you are and still being able to focus on reactive platforming. And that is the best balance I can say about anything in this game. Some of the platforming is a little bit heavy, yeah. Some of the cyber stages are a little bit heavy in the 2D department, where I'm less thrilled about how heavy Sonic is in those moments, but it means that the platforming is deliberate. It's not just hold forward and hope you win, which is something that I have been struggling with a lot in the most recent games, because that's what it all felt like. In this case, however, boosting is a tool and not the whole gameplay. The quick step function is still there. It's very rare that you actively get locked into quick step, but it is still there. The 2D stages play the same way that they did in like Generations and Unleashed. Much more responsive than in Forces. Sonic has an inherent double jump, so I guess it would be closer to call it more akin to Colors style of 2D platforming, where you have a dedicated double jump, and the homing attack isn't set to the jump button anymore. So you don't have to worry about homing attacking when you're trying to just double jump. And that is a very welcome change. So anyway, you get the portal gears from the baddies. You go into the cyber stages, and based on the number of goals you complete when finishing a cyber stage, you get keys. Keys unlock the Chaos Emerald Vaults, which are trapped for reasons. I'm not going to spoil the plot in this game. I'm just mostly giving you a basic rundown here. So you use the keys to unlock the Chaos Emerald Vaults. And then, while you're running around, you collect friend tokens to match whatever little buddy you're trying to help out at the moment. You collect friend tokens to further the story of the area by talking to said friend at intervals based on how many tokens you've got. It's important to mention they don't spend the tokens. It looks like you spend the tokens. You don't. You just have to hit a certain threshold and then you just move on. But you have to interact with your friend on the map and you get a little bit of story. And the story is surprisingly good. Like, I've heard that they got one of the current comic writers to work on the story, and it shows. Because you've got moments of Sonic talking with Knuckles about ancient history. You have Tails reminiscing about his time in Station Square and how useless he felt during Force It. But so going beyond all that, this game made me like Amy Rose's writing. I couldn't stand her for most of my life. I thought she was fine in Sonic Adventure 1, but anything beyond that, it was just, I didn't like her. I didn't like her. She just felt like the flirty sidekick, and that was all that she was. This game changed that for me. I like the way she's written here. As for the combat, going from area to area, fighting stronger enemies, the combo system is good. Because you do unlock an auto combo later if you have no desire to actually learn these. It is possible to just breeze on through, not having to learn your combos. But learning your combos so that you can one-cycle a world boss in order to quickly get it out of the way because you're not prepared for what happens afterwards, it feels so good to chain your combos together in a certain way. Learning which combos are great for building up your Phantom Rush meter, an effective super mode that you trigger once you've done enough hits. Knowing exactly how far you need to go for certain combos, for different moves, comboing your basic attacks into flashier, more cinematic moves. It's surprisingly gratifying. And I'll touch more on this later. But it's really good. It is insanely good how nice it is to be able to just go. This isn't like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, where you're going to do these giant, like, 1,000-string combos and super elaborate stuff. It's definitely more basic than that. But it feels good to do. It's a nice, happy medium, I feel, for people like myself who are not as great at, those elaborate combos. And people who, just want to play Sonic for fun. And there is a direct reward for learning how to do the combos yourself rather than relying on the auto combo. Your combos will do more damage if you do it that way. So the last thing I want to bring up here are the boss fights. There aren't that many proper boss fights. You've got a lot of world bosses and encounters with strong enemies that need to be solved in their own ways. But the boss fights. First of all, each boss fight is accompanied by a track sung by Kellen Quinn of Sleeping with Sirens. And he is fantastic when it comes to the performances on these songs. They are great and amazing. Music is a big sticking point for me. I love the music here. And it is phenomenal. Every one of them got me hyped up in new ways. And some of them even have dynamic music akin to like Metal Gear Rising of all things. And it's delightful. As far as the actual boss fights go, it's no surprise if you watch the launch trailer that Supersonic makes an appearance in this game. For the first time in a long time, Supersonic is actually involved in a boss fight. And it's insane how good they made these fights. There's a lot of clipping if you're not careful, and I'm not going to show you any more than like the first boss here, and I'm going to go ahead and give you a timestamp if you want to skip it because you don't want to get spoilers, because trust me, it makes an impression. In any case, I think that the boss fights here are done beautifully. Supersonic is involved in many of them, and unlike Sonic Adventure 2 or Sonic Adventure 1, or even 06 to a regard, which I do think actually had a very good final boss fight. Super Sonic here is an extension of the default gameplay. All of the combos you do as normal Sonic work as Super Sonic. Every single move you learn translates perfectly over to Super Sonic, and it's incredible how in line they make it. The bosses themselves aren't too terribly challenging. The first one's pretty easy, and the ones after that have a respectable amount of difficulty to them, as well as a respectable amount of variety to them, so they're not all just handled the same way. I love these. I have separate saves to go back and fight these bosses again if I decide I want to, because they are so good. Each one has a unique theme composed by Kellen Quinn, and I'm not going to tell you where, but Tyler Smith from the Infinite theme makes a reappearance somewhere. It's pretty great, actually. It's good stuff. Good stuff. And it's the best comparison I've ever heard was from another streamer who was playing the game and said, it's like they made an AMV into a boss fight, and it works. And that is the only way I can describe these. They are playable cutscenes that are delightful. Cinematic camera angles, thrilling moments. It's great. I highly recommend you check it out. Overall, I think Sonic Frontiers is an incredible return to form for the bootler. It's an evolution of the boost formula in such a way I never thought we were going to get. It is thrilling to explore a huge open world as Sonic and getting to move through an open world the way Sonic would. It's great. It's amazing. And in fact, I only have one complaint. And that complaint is why the heck is 1-2 so freaking difficult to S-rank? I spent 30 minutes recording footage just trying to get it after a previous hour of attempts. Why is 1-2 so hard to S-rank? Also, there's no drowning theme, so, 0 out of 10, terrible game. Just kidding. It's a 10 out of 10. Buy this game. It's amazing. I love this. This has been Buffer with Blue Shell Gaming's Modern GameSpot. Have a great day.